Hi everybody, so my name's Carl and I really love Android and I love people with iPhones as well, you know, you're not hearing me bitching about it. I think it's room for everybody. I think sharing and, you know, everybody having a choice is a good thing, it truly is. You don't want one system to dominate, you definitely do not. Apologies for all these graphics. It's on my second time here. I came here last month and Les heard me going on about it so much, he bent me on and said, oh, just put something together and see what you can do. So that's, I've got to apologise for all these. Let's just move on. That's better. I program Android for a living and I also do training, I give training courses. A lot of problems with Android at the moment, you'll not hear people making a lot of money out of it. Whereas in the iPhone, if you've got a killer app, you know, it's a runaway. Obviously, you'll make a fortune from that. Training, there's massive demand for, so I'm being a bit sneaky. Right? I got in at the start, there's good demand for it, and I've got a set of training courses. I'm not pitching anything here, I'm just saying where I'm coming from, and that's what I'm interested in. I was fortunate, I love Android, and the fact that it's taken off so well is a bonus for me, you know, bet the right horse sort of thing. Tonight, I've just got 9 slides, and we're going to follow these, talking about the history, where it came from, where it's going, hopefully, and why it's called Android. Does anybody know why it's called Android? Where it came from, the actual word? No? Well, the name Android was from the guy who ran a company called Danger, called Andrew Rubin, and he is a geek. He'd be perfect here, right? He's your world's #1 geek, house full of gadgets, right? Starting lots of startups that failed until he started Danger in about like 2002, 2003. Danger were just like a combination of a smartphone company and a PDA. Okay, so the hit stops. Picture one coming up in a minute. But because he was such a geek, he was buying all these domains, and his nickname was Android, Andy Rubin, Andrew, you know. So he's sitting on the domain name, and that's how it came about. There's no design to it. When he'd been working on Android, the operating system, he just had to choose a name for it. There were a lot of other companies trying to put Linux on the phone. Google happened to buy his company and said, we'll take the name, Android. So it's basically just a domain name. He had it dormant that became really useful. Why it came about when it did is, I believe, it's because the hardware became capable. Linux, we've been using Linux since the late 90s, you know, all the bugs were sorted out, we've got multitasking, got a very powerful system there. What we didn't have was the capability on hardware with the CPU power and memory to be able to run that Linux software that we had on the desktop. It was really obvious at some point it's going to be capable. If you look at the exponential growth of, you know, CPU horsepower, memory prices, memory capacity, battery life, screen size, the whole technology, it was really obvious that somebody was going to put a Linux system on a phone at that point. And basically, obviously, Apple had been doing it in parallel, and it happened within months of each other. That Google said, oh, we want one of these, let's choose one of the independent companies that have been doing this and buy them up. So Google didn't plan this from the start in that way, but they did buy an existing system, an existing company. So it's Google's growth. Google are just an advertising company. That's all they ever will be. All they want to do is raise the surface area at which they can show ads. They're not interested in making money from the operating system. If they can show ads anywhere, then they will do. So that's their motivation. 97% of their revenue comes from ads. Extremely profitable. Nothing else really makes any money for them at all. And so their game is literally just moving into TV, into phones, into anything that can show ads. That's the motivation for Android. It always has been, it always will be. Open source as well. Google, obviously Linux, they're really into open source, they always have been. So the philosophy for remaining open is perfect. It's a perfect fit for them. Yeah, all this happened in about 2008. They released an SDK. The iPhone came out in 2007, but the early look Android SDK came out in November 2007 as well. And they made it available for everybody. It's a combination of Linux. As I say, the software was okay. It's the hardware that came together. Java, that was mature enough to be able to develop app-level software on this kind of platform. So it's a perfect combination: Linux, Java, and open source. There's the picture of the Hicktop. It's the one on the left. That's the thing that Android originated in 2002. The one on the right was the first Android phone, G1. So you can see how similar they are. Yeah, the Hicktop. 2003 is when he stepped down, and 2005 was when they acquired Android. But everything was really hush-hush then. It was all stealth mode startups, all that stuff. Nobody talked about it whatsoever. But obviously we all know now what they were doing. Once Android was launched, what Google do is they do deals with the carriers, and you'll see all the HTC designs, all the Sony Ericssons, they all do commercial handsets, but they also do their own. And every December, they produce a reference phone, a physical phone you could buy from Google. The first one was the G1, which is the picture we saw on the last slide. That was December 2008. The next one was the Nexus One, here. Exactly the same as the HTC Desire, but it's made by Google. I bought this online directly from Google. The reason they do that is it's a reference design. So if you're a developer and you've got one of these babies, anything you design that runs on these is guaranteed to run on all the others. So it's a smart move. It's not competing with it. It's just saying, okay, this is the pure, unadulterated Android handset, and we give you this because we don't want the carriers to pollute it with all their bloatware. Right? We want to give you the basic pure Android experience. The one after that came out last December. That was the Nexus S, made by Samsung. And hot off the press, I've just heard this week that the one that would come out in December this year is going to be called the Nexus Prime, made by Samsung. But the rumour is it's been brought forward to October. It's going to run the very latest Android, which is Ice Cream Sandwich. The reason it's been brought forward into October because that's when the iPhone 5 launches, right? So they've got to have something to compete. And this baby's got 1.5 gig CPU, dual core CPU. It's got no buttons on it at all, just on the edge. It's got power, volume, but on the front screen there's absolutely no buttons. So it does have soft buttons, but they're built into the operating system. It's also the one that fuses the tablet editions of Android and the new smartphone. But I say it's commercial as well. The fact that they're bringing it forward to October, I'm getting one. Yes, here we go. So keep things up to date. August 2011. It's actually 48%. 48% of the world's smartphones running Android. So the battle with the iPhone is they make all the money, but Android have the numbers. So it's like weird. What's going to happen? Is that situation going to remain the same forevermore? Or are people going to say, well, iPhone are going to start selling cheaper phones, so therefore we'll sell more, or older versions of the iPhone? Or Android, does that say, well, you know, we'll take over the world basically? We've already seen off what looks like HP, what we were talking about before. Motorola's just been swallowed up recently as well. So all the competition is generally being smashed up. Microsoft never even got started. They've got a problem as well, even what they do with Nokia. So it's basically definitely a two-horse race. I don't know which one I'm backing, but yes, Motorola, when I did these slides, I didn't know what was going to happen with Motorola, so it's now a Google Zoom. Well, that's their tablet. That's running a different, at that point, it's running a different version of Android. They've got two versions of Android, one which runs on the tablets, one which runs on the phones. That's been the situation for about a year and a half now, but that's going to change in October when the next version of Android comes out, called Ice Cream Sandwich. All the editions of Android are named after desserts, so you've got cupcake, donut, froyo, which is American frozen yogurt, gingerbread, honeycomb, and the honeycomb is the one that runs on the tablets. So the next one's, you see the progression, it's alphabetic, A, B, C, D, cupcake, donut, right? So gingerbread is the current one for phones, honeycomb is on tablets, and Ice Cream Sandwich is the one which will run on both of the next generation hardware. Unify them both. Oops, there you go. Did I get it right? That's its logo. Well, there you go. You see the alphabetic. So give us some kind of sense of humour there. Probably appeals to Americans more than us. Basically, though, you can't lose sight of the fact what Google are all about. 90%, 97% of the revenues comes from adverts. They're not interested in killing competition on phones. They want rival platforms to show their adverts, whether it's an advert from a website or a website that's in an app, or delivered as part of an application itself, because it all comes from Google. They don't want to kill rivals. They just want to increase the surface area for adverts. They've definitely got the resources to launch a mobile OS. You can't do this thing on a shoestring. You really have to be committed, and they did that. And they've got massive future plans. Everything they do now is integrated with Android. So we got the latest big thing from Google, which was the Google Plus, their rival to Facebook. And all the clients for that all run on Android, look as if they've been designed from the start to integrate really well with it. It's mainly sharing and so on. The big battle on the desktop is to take on social, to take on Facebook. And there, I think that's about it. Yeah, it is. There you go, Android in a nutshell.